From WisPolitics in Madison, you're listening to Capital Chats.
Good afternoon, and welcome to Capital Chats, brought to you by Spectrum. I'm Joshua Irvin, a reporter with WisPolitics. Last month, we talked to hemp lobbyist Philip Scott on the economic impacts of a forthcoming federal ban on intoxicating hemp products, cannabis substitutes widely sold in Wisconsin. Here's Phil in March.
The businesses and the farmers are going to take a major blow. We understand that. The ultimate people that lose here is the consumer. Ultimately, the people we do what we do for a living to provide a quality product to make them feel a little bit better and make them have the opportunity to get through life with a little ease. The consumers are the ones losing here, ultimately.
This week, public health consultant Melissa Moore talks to me about the public health concerns surrounding Wisconsin's currently largely unregulated hemp market and what action policymakers should take if this product is to remain on shelves. I hope you enjoy. Melissa, thank you for taking the time to join me today.
Thank you for having me.
Let's jump right in. What are the public health implications of the hemp ban in Wisconsin?
I think generally when we talk about the impacts that intoxicating hemp specifically is having on Wisconsinites is really that unregulated risk is really the first piece. The part that they're sold in many different locations, poorly labeled, untested, they could potentially be contaminated. All of these things really contribute to really that first and main point in a public health sense. We also have to talk about youth access and the impacts that normalization of these kind of products can have. We're really creating a whole new generation of nicotine-like exposure, but with THC. The third one is really around the potencies and the unpredictability of these products. Widely unregulated, widely untested, the impacts can lead to increased ER visits, increased anxiety, or other sort of mental health concerns. And then also, when we look at this, these products are really outpacing the policy. So the community really does start feeling that impact first. The fourth one is really around the lack of safety infrastructure in general, standardized testing, labeling, child-resistant packaging, the impacts that retailer trainings can have to make sure that we're not increasing access to our youth unintentionally, not knowing what the age restrictions, though there is none, is on these products. And really that last piece is around workplaces, driving, the community safety in general, because we know that these are intoxicating intoxicating products. So it does impact our driving. It can impact our work sites and just that confusion that everything's labeled as legal hemp. And the reality is, when this is no longer just a policy issue, it's really a safety and productivity issue as well.
Okay. Let's start with the matter of youth usage. You describe nicotine-like exposure for young people in Wisconsin. Can you elaborate on what you mean?
Well, I guess it kind of comes down to if it looks like candy, youth are really going to be treating it like candy. The fruity flavors, the attractive promotion, the variety of products that look like other products. It really has increased, even just here in the state of Wisconsin. The Wisconsin Poison Control showed that there was over 300 individuals that called the line last year in 2025. 1 out of 6 of those were directly linked to these intoxicating hemp products. So we need to pay attention to them because it does mimic a lot of the past tactics that we've seen in alcohol and tobacco industries. So if we don't want to duplicate what we've already have happened, we want to really step in ahead of time.
Okay. You talk about stepping in ahead of time. What Congress has done here is, enact a de facto ban. Whether the federal government forces or not is an open question. I want to ask, do you think prohibition offers a solution to any of the problems you've laid out here, as opposed to, say, state level regulation?
Well, I think when it comes to at a federal level, the federal level was really looking at how do we close this loophole. It wasn't intentional of what happened here when it came to the 2018 Farm Bill, putting in restrictions around the hemp industry. And what happened is the industry became very innovative and changing the products to make them in a way that is outside of what was intentioned with the original rules or with the original federal laws. So with this federal turnaround, it does leave a lot still to the states. States still need to look at enacting that federal law. States still have the power to put things like age restrictions on the way that they process it here within the states. But anything that's intoxicating should be regulated. And I don't think that there's any industries that would disagree with that.
Gotcha. So you would say that, this prohibition is here. In addition to that, Wisconsin should look at actual regulation as opposed to just letting this federal ban take effect and doing nothing.
Absolutely. We still have the freedom to take that action at a state level. And I think it's important that the state does look at what is going to be best for the communities. Because again, when we look at these products, we really want to understand it and be able to regulate something, because just because it's unregulated doesn't mean that it's not harmless.
Gotcha. I also wanted to ask, you didn't bring it up, but there are a lot of people in Wisconsin and across the country who use, cannabis or cannabis substitutes for medicinal purposes to treat chronic pain. Um,
Mhm.
what does this ban potentially mean for those folks in Wisconsin?
Well, I think it goes back to when you think about the cannabis industry in any states that have passed legal use, whether it's medicinal use or adult recreational use, there's regulation on those substances. So unlike with the cannabis markets, these hemp products have lacked that testing, that accuracy, the child resistant packaging, the retailer training, all of these things. It's the same substances, but it's completely different safety standards with hemp. So we can't hold hemp aside. And in states like Minnesota, for example, they had huge impacts of the hemp industry kind of inserting itself into the or taking over where the cannabis industry was restricted. We had a hemp industry that was essentially kind of the Wild West. They ended up having to change their policies to be able to restrict both because they were seeing issues. And I think one of the things when it comes to the concerns around things like the black market, this is already happening. And public health is not anti-industry. It's really about pro safety, and that's really what we're all about.
Gotcha. So to bring it all home, what is, in your opinion, the next best step for policymakers, whether that's local, state, federal?
Well, I think from a policymaker perspective, it's just really understanding that this is a consumer safety issue, that it's not a cannabis issue. We can't regulate alcohol, tobacco, or we already do regulate other intoxicating products like alcohol and tobacco, and this really can't be any different. So that policy that we put into place, whether it's adopting the federal level once it becomes a federal law, we never know what's going to happen as far as legal challenges and how that could be potentially delayed, that this policy can help close that gap and to help protect our communities. And that consistency in regulation can really help build that trust, not only in the market that's looking to sell it, to make sure that they're selling a safe and regulated and restricted and tested product, but then also to help protect our communities because we know that this is something that's going to impact us.
All right. Melissa, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you again to Melissa, to Spectrum, and to you, the listener. For WisPolitics, I'm Joshua Irvin, and this has been Capital Chats.